What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of Back Your Play. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, hashtag BYP. Check us out on the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q, growing exponentially. We appreciate it. Thursday edition from our good friends over at Play It Again Sports is we welcome my guy, blowing up on the college scene, Nick Kosko, who is now, as you see, with the guns, the muscles, the on three shirt, on three sports. It's great to catch up with you, brother. It's been a long time, but congratulations on the new gig. Before we get into everything that's been going on in college football with the transfer portal, National Signing Day, talk about the new gig.
Yeah, it's good. On3 Sports is growing, man. And, I got to give a big shout out to Shannon Terry and Jamie Oakes for bringing me aboard. They were part of the team that brought me over 24/7 Sports a couple years ago. But, I felt it was the right time for a different move in my career. So, we'll just keep building from here. And we're the premier destination now, I would say, for college football, college basketball, transfer portal, recruiting. We do it all. NIL, something brand new to the college digital media space. So if any questions on name, image, and likeness, you have to check out on3.com, of course. So, I'm loving it right now. I'm about well, I don't know, what is it? Over 2 weeks in now. Yeah. So it's been wild. It's been a basically just hit the ground running and basically picked up right where I left off my previous employer. So just doing it for a different place now, but I'm happy and comfortable right now. So it's been going well for the past couple of weeks.
Well, good, man. Congrats. The talent is there, and we wish you. I always a big fan. Wish you the best of luck going forward. So yesterday, right? I mean, you got National Signing Day, you got the portal stuff. I mean, I was just going through a couple of these names, Nick. I mean, you got the kid Potter, the Cincinnati edge rusher. He transfers to state. You got the kid Reggie Person Jr. from Texas Tech to safety, goes to Oklahoma. You had the big news yesterday, Travis Hunter, right? Jackson State to Colorado, won 100,000 subscribers. You got the kid Jones, the quarterback, who I think transferred a couple times. Now he's going to Cincinnati. I mean, my goodness, my head's about to explode here. Is this going to be the new norm now? Is number one. And I guess out of some of these names, and I'm sure you've got a bunch of them, is Hunter the coup de grace, the big name that we're talking about, Jackson State to Colorado?
Well, I'll start with that second question first. The number one prospect, Travis Hunter, just depending upon what ranking service you look at, On3 consensus has him, basically at the top or near the top. He was the number one transfer available according to us at On3. So he was the top, I would say, prize in the transfer portal. But I mean, at that, when Deion Sanders left, of course, everyone knows primetime. When he left Jackson State to take the Colorado job, you knew a lot of his guys were going to follow him, namely his son, Shador, the quarterback, was going to come over there and play quarterback for the Buffaloes. And of course, Travis Hunter, who was, depending upon what you looked at, the number one overall recruit who flipped from Florida State to Jackson State to play with Deion Sanders. So yeah, he was definitely the top guy, and pretty much everyone knew where he was going. I know Georgia hopped into the mix late in that transfer portal sweepstakes to try to get Hunter services. And I thought, actually, I mean, at least for him, just a side note, genius marketing move on his point to go from, hey, hit me 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'll tell you where I'm going. Or
people were killing him for that, though. Some people were actually killing him for that. And
I'm not going to blame him for killing him for that, but I mean, to me, I love it. I mean, again, I think they were killing him only for it because they basically knew he was going to go to Colorado and follow Deion. And even though Georgia got in there late trying to recruit him, I know Kirby Smart was trying to get him. But I mean, genius marketing. I mean, that's the way these kids have to roll nowadays with the NIL stuff. So I'll segue that into your first question, which was, is this the new norm? I mean, I would say it is until you see some sort of regulations on it, which I don't know what they're going to do. I know the NCAA just named a new president, the former Massachusetts governor. He's going to step in for Mark Emmert once Emmert steps down. But that is going to be the new norm as far as how this transfer portal looks, how the signing day works. I mean, you got guys making money left and right, whether it's from NIL collectives, whether it's from boosters still within the legality of it. I use the air quotes on that because there's still no regulations. There's pretty much no rhyme or reason to it. And the fact that, I'll use my alma mater for an example. Rutgers, they're not going to be able to compete money-wise with the likes of Ohio State, Penn State, Ohio, and Michigan, other schools like that, Alabama down south, Clemson. I mean, heck, there was a whole big thing just the other day about Mac Brown. He won a national title at Texas. He's in North Carolina. He had a Heisman Trophy candidate in Drake May, the quarterback. Now, there was rumors that he was going to end up transferring and leave North Carolina, even though that's where he always wanted to go since he was a kid. But he was supposedly, at least Mac Brown claims, that he was offered $4 to $5 million to go transfer elsewhere. $4 to $5 million, and that's just in NIL collectives, money, whatever the case may be. If you're offered that much money. I don't know why you wouldn't take it, but he stayed, and that's what Mac Brown claims. And even Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi also kind of backed up that claim as well. They did not name schools, but I guess you can probably come off the top of your head, like, all right, maybe these are the schools that offered him. I'm not gonna say Alabama did it because I don't know if that's necessarily the way they roll, but he did tell Nick Saban no initially in his recruitment. So I'm just speculating right there. But schools like that have these ginormous pools of money where they do, that probably offered him that type of money. I'm not sure who did. I think it was only one or two schools, but you're gonna have stuff like that. Yeah, that is going to be normal. This is basically free agency like the NFL, and it's going to incentivize these kids to stay in school perhaps longer because sometimes you can make more money right off the bat at these big brands.
Yep. Yeah. And there's no guarantee that unless you're in some of the big boys, right? Texas or Ohio State or Michigan or, the U or Alabama, there's no guarantee you're going to get drafted, right? I mean, think about it. So, but you would almost venture to guess if they're being courted with that type of money, then you would almost assume if everything plays out the right way and they have successful careers, first round draft picks, maybe even second round draft picks, right? I'm not going to throw you, I'm not going to just throw that money at your feet if I think you're going to be riding the pine, or you might be a second stringer, or maybe have a chance to be a starter here and there. But to your point, the money's there. I mean, can you imagine 15, 20 years ago? I mean, imagine, I'll give you a couple players right now. Imagine a guy like, 30 years ago, Doug Flutie, or Brian Bosworth, or Marcus Dupree, or Bo Jackson, just thinking about some of those names, right? Deion Sanders. Can you imagine those players present, in present day right now with what's being offered to them?
Yeah, it's actually mind-boggling when you think about it. I mean, then again, it probably was happening back then, and some guys even confirmed it happened back then. Obviously illegally and under the table, but when it's out in the open like this now and it's legal, you mentioned Marcus Dupree, who's they made, ESPN made a 30 for 30 on him because he was basically he the best that never was because he got hurt in college. But can you imagine during his recruitment process if it was held today, where he's weighing between Texas, Oklahoma? He ended up going to Oklahoma, of course, but can you imagine what Oklahoma would have been willing to throw at him to get him nowadays? I mean, it absolutely is mind-boggling, and it's only going to get worse. And I say worse loosely only because this is the new normal. This is basically what has been going on for years, whether you want to admit it or not, just illegally under the table and hasn't really been uncovered. Now it's just out in the open. And I guess until there are regulations put in place by the NCAA or conferences, or maybe the Power Five as a whole with the Power Five conferences, until there's something put in like that, I mean, you're going to see the big boys outspend even some other Power Five schools. Like I mentioned, there's going to be a huge disparity in the Big Ten. You look at Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, throw in Michigan State as well. Then I would say maybe Nebraska and Wisconsin as well. Those big boys are going to outspend the Purdues, the Illinois, the Rutgers, the Marylands, the Northwesterns. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be.
And there's never really going to be that competitive balance when you think about it. I mean, that's how at least in football, right?
Right.
I mean, other colleges, other universities might have the advantage with other sports, so to speak. In a couple minutes with On Three Sports is Nick Kosko at Nick Kosko 59. Thursday edition of BYP. Rich Quinones here. All right. I want to get to, before we get to some of these bowl games and with the playoffs right around the corner, the passing of Mike Leach. I mean, you're talking about 21 seasons, right? 19 combined bowl appearances, 158 wins, the air raid offense. He did it with multiple power conferences, multiple schools, if you will, in that regard. I mean, and just was, really seemed like an entertaining and just fun, charming guy to be around, but a brilliant football mind. What kind of legacy do you think he's leaving now with his recent passing?
I mean, I would hope that the legacy that Mike Leach leaves here with fans, with fellow coaches, former players, media members, is that he was a genius. He was a football genius, an offensive innovator. The air raid offense, it took over the sport. It basically changed the sport, and we see those concepts at the pro level now, whether you want to believe it or not. I know there's a comeback for the run in the NFL as well, but I mean, the air raid has taken over the sport, and it makes it an offensive game. And we've seen it at the pro and college levels where rules have been changed to benefit offenses. And when you have an offense like that, particularly when he was at Texas Tech, and then when he went to Washington State over in the Pac-12, this is a team that was scoring 45, 50, 55, 60, 70 points a game because they had quarterbacks who could just air it out, throw for 500 yards in a game. They never really ran the football. So I would hope his legacy is remembered as an offensive genius, an innovator, and a guy who basically changed the sport for the better, for the entertainment. And I mentioned entertainment because everyone loves offense. And on the flip side of that, with entertainment, he was an entertaining head coach. Now, while he was around, did I particularly like the way he handled himself? Well, yes and no. It just depends on what he said or
Sure.
what he was doing. Maybe in the moment on TV during a game on the sideline or in a press conference, or how he handled himself. Now, I loved it and I hated it because it was one of those things where just like, oh, come on, we just need a legit answer. We don't need stories about pirates. We don't need stories about this.
That was who he was.
Or this ancient text you were reading. But in the end, when you look back on it, it's like, wow, he was a very unique individual. And there's no one else is like that. No, I don't think anybody else can be like that. He's a very unique individual. He's going to be missed by the college football community. And I think it's very unfortunate that his time on this earth was cut short, because I believe he was actually finally hitting his stride at Mississippi State. They had one of the better years under him already in his short stint with the Bulldogs in the SEC. And I think he was finally starting to put his blueprint into the SEC and maybe changing what that division would look like down the line. So I'm glad the players, I saw a story the other day. I think a lot of the players that were initially committed to him in the class of 2023, they're honoring their commitments to stay at the school despite his passing. So I think that's a great story. I think it's a great way for the Mississippi State community to certainly to rally.
Per you guys, when you look at the National Signing Day, the recruiting classes, the winners and the losers. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Miami, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. If we can, I know still letting the dust settle, but who do you think had the best quote unquote National Signing Day?
I mean, it's really hard to tell when you look at National Signing Day, the transfer portal, because it's going to be crazy, because this is the early National Signing Day, which was just on Wednesday. The transfer portal is still very rampant right now. You have the January signing day, and then you have to go into the offseason where still these kids can enter the portal. I mean, there's only a short time where there's a dead period. They can enter the portal in the spring and then play somewhere else by the fall. It's absolutely absurd. So, I mean, it's tough to have winners and losers. I think Michigan has been killing it in the transfer portal as well, getting guys left and right. Obviously, I think, it's pretty obvious to say this right now, but I think Colorado is going to be a big winner regardless, because they're just getting a whole new wave of talented athletes, whether they're transferring in or guys are flipping their commitments, or guys that were undecided. They're now all of a sudden saying, you know what, I want to go play for Deion. So I would say, Michigan has been killing it in the transfer portal based on what I've seen in the early going, as you mentioned before, letting the dust settle. So you probably see after the holidays where everybody kind of stands going into the new year. But I would say Michigan was a big winner in the transfer portal. And I mean, I might as well be a de facto Colorado fan right now, because I love what Deion's doing. He pulled in his son. He's going to play quarterback. Travis Hunter's going there. He could probably play both ways at Colorado for all we know. And he's pulling a lot of 4-stars. Some 5-stars are starting to say, you know what? I mean, Colorado was 1-11 last year, but Deion's there now. I might have to go there.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if they win 4 games next year, 5 games, it's a success. And, within 2 to 3, you never know. They can be contending for a conference title, a bowl game. I mean, there's about 55 of them right now. So I think what's going to happen is, if for some reason they struggle out of the gate, which I don't think they will, people are going to say, well, here you go. You had all these transfers and all these, and, you still can't build this program up. I'm not buying that. I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I think he did, he peaked, he plateaued at Jackson State. I mean, let's be honest. And as you mentioned, you go to a Colorado university that stinks in football. You got to go back to the Cordells or the Bieniemys of the world, where they were somewhat relevant, and you're coming off a 1-11 campaign. So
right.
To 3 or 4 games, 5 games, hell, even 6, and maybe sneak into a bowl. That's a massive turnaround.
You see the way Deion talks. I mean, Coach prime time. He's not going. He kept saying, "We coming." That's the new slogan now at Colorado. We coming, because he said that at his press conference. He said that to his team when he first met them, and he basically said, if we don't think you're good enough, or you don't think you're good enough, or you don't want to be here, like, see ya, like, go to the transfer portal. I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing. That's not the way Deion would actually phrase it. He did say it along those lines, but the energy he brings, I think he can instantly turn this program around. You mentioned 6 wins. I think that's possible. I mean, I don't even have their schedule in front of me, and I think this team can win 6 games next year. Now, in Deion's eyes, is a 6-6 season where they go to let's just say, whatever the case may be, whatever a low-level Pac-12 bowl
Yeah.
game is, if they go to the Hawaii, I don't even know. If they go to a low-level Pac-12 bowl game next year and play some Big Ten team that also finished 6-6, let's just say it's Maryland or it's a Purdue if they have a down season next year or someone like that. Is that a success in Deion's mind? Absolutely not. This is a guy that wants to win the Pac-12 and get to the playoff basically in year one.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. He knows it's a process. He knows how to build things. Now, on the outside, would I consider a 6-6 season next year for Deion a success? Absolutely. Because this is, again, you mentioned this is a team that was 1-11 last year. You're talking about putting together an entirely new team, basically from scratch, but it's all guys that came into the portal. It's freshmen coming up in the class of 2023. And again, USC is a little bit different because Lincoln Riley was already an established Power 5 coach, got Oklahoma to the playoff numerous times, won numerous Big 12 championships. Now, I'm not saying Colorado's going to have a USC type turnaround where they're knocking on the door of the playoff going into conference championship weekend. But can I see Colorado winning 6 games in the minimum next year? Yeah. And in fact, I would say I'd be shocked actually if they don't win 6 games next year under Deion in year one. I mean, this is a team that it's a rough prediction. I'm kind of just throwing it out on the wall on Twitter, but this is a team that I would say is going to win the Pac-12 at some point, because don't forget USC and UCLA leaving for the Big Ten after next season.
That's
so
right. Opens
when those two
up.
teams are gone,
Yeah.
those are your two powers right now, aside from Oregon and Washington after their good seasons here in 2022. So am I going to say Colorado's going to win the Pac-12 in 2023? No. 2024? I'm not ruling it out. I firmly believe, unless an even bigger Power 5 job says, Deion, we want you, we're going to pay you a lot more money, bring all your guys to this location. I mean, I have to say right now, Deion Sanders will win a Pac-12 title at Colorado.
Next week, we'll get into a little more of the CFP semifinals, Michigan, TCU, Georgia, Ohio State. There's 26,000 bowl games. I mean, Louisiana, Houston, Wake Forest, I'm looking at the guaranteed rate bowl, Texas Tech.
We just had the Boca Raton Bowl the other day as well.
Right. So. I mean, hell, I wish I was there right now.
Oh, yeah. The Hawaii Bowl too.
Not bad. Any of these bowls jump out? I mean, obviously next week in kind of the coup de grace. I mean, I know you're a college football guy, obviously, so I'm sure you'll be peeking out the back door. So to speak.
I'll be peeking. I mean, you know me as I'm a college football guy, but I'm also an NFL guy. It's the holidays this weekend. I'm going to be watching. I mean, the NFL wins this weekend just because they have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day pretty much owned. I mean, they have Thursday night owned tonight as well. So who knows? But I mean, any of these bowl games, will I turn them on? Yeah, I'll watch them. But also, it's dependent upon my shift schedule over at On3 as well. But, I mean, I am looking forward to the New Year's Six bowl games. I think one that actually really sticks out that's coming up. Obviously, again, it is a New Year's Six game, but Oklahoma Tulane. I mean, sorry, not Oklahoma Tulane. I beg your pardon. USC Tulane. I'm thinking of Lincoln Riley right here. USC Tulane. That thing really sticks out. I mean, are we nuts? How are we not talking about this game more? Tulane has been absolutely great this season. So look at Lincoln Riley. I know they missed out on the Pac-12 title and getting to the playoff, but that's a fiery matchup in the Cotton Bowl. Then, of course, I mean, I'm still picking. I'm sure we'll get more into it next week, of course, but I'm still picking Michigan all the way, baby. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the playoffs this year, just because it's something different now.
Yeah.
Am I a cynic and I want Alabama in there every year? Yes, because I like to see everybody get mad over it, and then it just draws more eyeballs anyway. But this playoff is very good this year with Michigan, TCU, and of course Georgia, Ohio State.
Yeah, we'll dive into that a lot more in depth next week when we hit another spot. Lastly, before I let you get out of here, obviously, horrible news, sad news, the passing of Franco Harris. A lot of people, forget Fort Dix guy, the pride of Rancocas Valley, Penn State, Pittsburgh, obviously finished his career cup of coffee with Seattle, which is just weird to look at. I know you guys interviewed him. You've interviewed him in the past. I interviewed him back in 2008. And my takeaway was just an extremely humble guy, generous with his time, didn't forget where he came from, but he always kind of made the point with the Immaculate Reception. And what's sad about it is, people were interviewing. I mean, Mad Dog had a great spot with him. I don't know. I mean, Doggy was on it, right? With the interview. And, they were supposed to do retires number, which, people forget. Some teams it's very rare to retire numbers, so to speak, right? To have the jerseys retired, right, and whatnot.
Especially with the Steelers. I believe it's only 3. He would only been the third guy to get his number.
And no Bradshaw, by the way.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's all. That's all. That's insane when you actually think about it.
Yeah. And 50th anniversary. But I remember when, I was just giddy to interview him, and I literally asked him about the Immaculate Reception. And, I was just kind of chuckling. I was like, come on, the ball had it. And it's just so funny the way he was describing the play, and it was kind of his outlook on life. It was like, listen, right place, right time. But to
Yeah.
his credit, the football acumen, he played through the play. He played through the whistle, so to speak. And, for my money, I think obviously an all-time running back. But the reason I bring it up to you is because I don't think people understand the breeding ground of South Jersey when it comes to pro athletes. I mean, look, we Trout, obviously, Pacheco right now in the NFL, but man, the NFL has sprouted a lot of players from South Jersey.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the fact that he is being memorialized now, and obviously it's very unfortunate that he had to, especially the timing really couldn't have been worse. And honestly, I didn't know about his health. He seemed like he was just going to keep on going.
Yeah,
And you mentioned how much of a gentleman he was. And when I talked to him last year, same thing, very generous for this time. And I think, we were capped at maybe like 10, 15 minutes, and like he would have kept going. But obviously the PR people were like, all right, Franco, we have to move on. You're promoting something, so on and so forth. But he was so generous with his time. He was, a light in football. If you were a football fan, even if you're a younger guy like me, and you don't really know, you weren't around in the 70s watching him live playing in person straight out of Penn State, where he was a rookie. And he was a rookie when he caught that ball in the Immaculate Reception. So, but even, you study the history of football, and you have to look at Franco Harris. He retired. I believe he was top 3 all-time rushing when he retired in league history. So guy's a Hall of Fame running back for a reason. He's a Steeler, proud and true. He bleeds black and gold, but he could still crack jokes. I remember when I was talking to him before last year, he was selling these Pro Football Hall of Fame game day socks that he designed. He sent me a pair. He sent me 2 pairs. One has Harris on the back with the 32, and the other one is actually Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher got inducted last year as well, so it's got like double zeros with Bill Cowher. Then I eventually got a pair of Harold Carmichael socks. Obviously being an Eagle fan, he even mentioned, as we were talking before we actually started recording, he goes, I said, Franco, I gotta be honest with you. I love talking to you, but I'm an Eagle fan. Like, we have a little, we have a little chippiness going here right now. And he laughed at it, and he was like, oh yeah, you gotta give yourself a pair of Harold Carmichael socks. And I found the raw audio of that interview, so I posted the other day. So I just thought that was great. But you mentioned the South Jersey football thing, where he's going to be honored. I think people really should look at his history, the fact that he's a Jersey guy, and he basically embodies Jersey. Yep. He embodies the Pennsylvania area, going to Penn State, and obviously playing for the Steelers for the bulk of his career. So he embodies that Northeast mentality, that old, tough, gritty type of guy. But obviously he can be a gentleman. That's what he comes off as in terms of a football player when he's on the field. That's how he's going to be. But, like any regular Jersey Italian, he's going to be a sweetheart, and he was. And that's just great. And the fact that he went to Rancocas Valley, I kind of take pride in that a little bit. Not from the area, but the South Jersey area where I was born and raised. So I take pride in the fact that, a great guy like that was from this area, and there's going to be more guys like that, hopefully. And I just saw a clip today. I don't know if you saw it. The NFL films, like, they went back and looked at Franco's Italian army back in the day. Where that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. The fact that Sinatra was involved too, that's awesome, man.
And a lot of people, he was of mixed race. His father, Cade Harris, was an African-American soldier, I think, in World War II. And he was stationed in Italy. That's where he met his mother. And he always kind of went back to that. But you're right, Franco's Italian army. And it's funny, you watch that play, it just shows you the purity of sports back then, as fans rush the stadium.
You would never see that in a pro game.
But that's my whole
That's
point.
Unbelievable.
Think about that. There's no worry. It's just nothing but excitement and passion and love and just energy and juice and all that. And
correct me if I'm wrong,
right.
I believe there was there was like 5 seconds on the clock to go too, and the fans still rushed the field. I believe was the case. And and it's amazing how, like, when you see the cinematic version of it, it's cut, it's edited. If you actually go back and watch the actual broadcast, the live play doesn't catch it, but the replay from the back end zone does catch it.
Talking about the Kirk Gowdy call.
Yeah, you could see it ever so slightly on the broadcast when they showed the replay angle from the back, where you see the ball deflect. Franco's coming from the bottom of the screen, And I mean, if you really slow it down, that ball does not touch the turf.
No.
It does not touch the turf.
No.
I'm with
And
Franco on that one.
yeah, I'm gonna side with him on that one as well. All right, my friend. Great stuff as always. Everyone follow Nick on Twitter at Nick Kosko 59 on 3 Sports. We'll get into the games a little more next week. I'll even give you some moments to wax poetic about your Eagles next week.
Well, we got to see what happens on Christmas Eve. Maybe Gardner Minshew's the guy to clinch the division, the number 1 seed for the Eagles. But yeah, I'll have my Eagle cap on during the holidays this weekend.
I don't doubt it. If you want to sprinkle in a little blue with the red for Giant colors, I don't have a problem with that.
Hey, I guess it depends on my camera angle, with my background here. But my grandfather's old Giants football, I think it's like right above my head as well. So maybe I'll do it for you right now. Maybe it's up there right now. Oh, there it is. Oh, my shoulder. There
that's
it is.
what we. Oh, never thought I'd see the day. All right,
never thought. That's all right. The Eagle thing's over my right shoulder. Don't worry.
Always appreciate a couple moments, pal. Thanks for jumping on BYP. We'll do it again next week.
Appreciate it, Rich. Thanks, man.
You got it, bro.